Well, hello, everybody. I saw this article, or this quote, I should say, and it got me thinking, and I wanted to know, is this something that you believe in? So the quote says here, and it actually says that Bill Gates is the one that said it. If you are born poor, it's not your mistake. But if you die poor, it is your mistake. And obviously, when you look at the grids of who has money and who doesn't, it is definitely tilted in the favor. Very few people are rich, and the majority of the people, I don't want to say poor, because that's a relative, but the majority of the wealth is in a few hands versus the majority of the hands. And so I thought, why don't we look at the calculator and actually see if this is true? And in some perspectives, I'm going to go right out there and say, I do believe it's true. And so I would love to hear, your comments. Do you believe it's true? Is it, that nobody can get ahead or only the rich can get ahead? I'm curious in that. And we're going to take a look at some calculators and see, what does it really take for you to be rich? Now, again, this does say if you die poor. So it doesn't say you're going to be rich. And so yeah, I guess in some ways it is subjective on what it is. And I will always go back to growing up as a kid saying you have $1 million, you're kind of rich. So to me, $1 million obviously is you're not poor. It's not the same as it was back when I was growing up, but still $1 million is $1 million. And if when you take it into account with Social Security, that's a great income. I mean, pulling out 44%, which is, $40,000 a year index for inflation, that could definitely add on to Social Security, more than enough for most people to live very comfortably. And, I don't think you would then die poor. And again, the 4% rule is kind of worst case, living out 30 years from retirement. So it is not like, hey, if you're going to work till 67, 30 years from that is quite a long time. So let's look at Dinkytown. Again, we're going to look at their 401k calculator. I really love this tool because it kind of goes into, the employer match. It's got your savings rate, you got your salaries, you got your starting age and your ending age. And again, you can do your annual rate of return. So you can do a lot of different calculators with this. And again, we're going to look back at that quote. So, if you die poor, it's your fault. So, and again, I'm going to say right off the bat, I actually think it's true. And so I've already entered in some numbers here that if you were 25, and again, I'm going to start this saying this now, maybe even 10 years ago, I don't, I haven't looked up what the starting salary of somebody when I started working in, around the 1995, so what is that? That's almost 30 years ago, what the starting salary would be for that person. But today, somebody working a job making $15 an hour, I believe that does come out to about $25,000. So you can make $25,000 reasonably in most areas around the country today. And saving 10% of that for, the majority of your career, so that's for 42 years. And again, this is with zero match, no salary increases, and saving 10%, you're almost all the way to $1 million. You have close to $800,000. And I can't imagine that you'd get no salary increase for the entire time. Even a 1%, moves you closer to the 900,000. If you got a 2% average across all that time, you would have over $1 million. So it is definitely possible. And again, something that the majority of people starting today, or people that have started already, maybe 10 years ago, should be able to accomplish this goal if you have the discipline and the dedication. Now, let's take it a little bit into a different spin of it, because obviously not everybody would have started maybe today. Maybe people are 35, right? Let's put that at 35 years, right? I don't think you would be, and look at that. That is pretty amazing. Going from 25 years where you've saved $1 million over 42 years, losing 10 years drops you more than half. So again, I can't stress more than anything, and this is why I keep pushing it with my own kids. Start early. That time of compounding really adds up. So I know it feels like it hurts more than it does because when you're younger, you're probably making less, but starting early, even a little bit, really does help. Now again, let's say somebody started at 35 and was only working at 67. Again, they wouldn't be at the $25,000 because they would have been making maybe 1%, 2%. But again, let's say they were and they made no increases. Again, no match. We're doing worst case scenario here. They have about $350,000. Not chump change, obviously. I don't even know if the average retirement savings is that much. Net worth, I believe it is, but retirement savings may not. But again, let's go into that 2% savings. Now you have about 428. If you got a 3% average, you're moving up there. The challenge that by delaying, you really need to start upping your contribution rate. If we even move it to 15%, you'd have to do 20%, I'm guessing, and you're still not even at $1 million. Again, on a lower salary. But if somebody was making, let's say, $50,000, and we go back to that 10%, you can see they can actually almost make it yourself. They might need to do what, 11%, and they're over it, right? And again, that is with no match. I mean, if somebody's making $50,000, maybe they have the opportunity to get a smaller match, a 3% match, depending on their company. Let's put it back to that 10% and show what if they had gotten a 100% match up to 3%. You can see down here the graph on what it would impact. And obviously they actually have over $1 million. So again, a more modest salary. This is below average, I believe, for today. But somebody starting out today, again, at 25 with that match, they should have close to $3 million. So going back to that quote, let me bring that back up so you can see it. So if you are born poor, it's not your mistake. So obviously each one of us can't control that. But if you die poor, it is your mistake. So again, I know it's probably not a positive symbol, but I'm going to say it is. It's kind of your fault. And I don't want to say that. And you have options. You need to look at your own personal financing, how you might be able to stretch another dollar here, let it compound, let it invest. Obviously, time is your friend. The sooner you start, that would really make a difference. So, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you not agree? I'm curious to hear what others think about this. I usually try to show these type of graphs where you can dive into it and see different numbers because it really starts to put it in. But again, I'm going to highlight again, this takes time and consistency. You can't stop too soon because it's going to take 20, 30 years before you start to see meaningful dollars. And it's really those last 10 years, 5 years that you really see the growth from the compounding. So start early, start investing, and go slow and steady, and you'll be amazed at what it'll turn into. So I hope you found this interesting. If you did, like and subscribe. I do videos like this just to kind of point out different tidbits. Again, my journey, and I share some of my own statistics as well. Again, maybe not exact numbers. We are on the internet. So thank you.